to Heather's Long Box. Today we have Paul Storrie with us. And how long have I known you now?
6, 7, 8 years, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, nigh unto a decade, as we writers say, if we're being pretentious. But
well, you can if you want.
I really wish I could stop, but I apparently am pretentious whether I want to be or not.
Sorry, it reminds me of a fight I had with my ex-husband where I called him a pretentious asshole and he called me a pretentious bitch.
Aww. I can feel the love.
Can't you?
Yeah.
Can't you? Love was in the air that night.
Yep.
No, well, today you brought a couple of books.
I did.
And I know I have a copy of this at home.
I know you do too, because you took some promotion photos for me and you received one of those in return.
Yes, you totally signed to this. And Lola, the indie princess from Indievolt, is already trying to cop one of these.
Ah, okay.
And we lost one of our studio lights. Hopefully it'll come back on. Here's another book that you...
Justice League Unlimited Girl Power, which is a collection of many of the issues of the Justice League Unlimited comic series that focused on the women in the Justice League, including the one that I did, which you opened up to, by the way, which was called Just Us Girls, and featured Supergirl and Mary Marvel kind of bonding over the fact that they live sort of in the shadow of their male counterparts, and how to deal with that in a positive way. So yeah, that
give some hints on how to deal with it in a non-positive way.
Well, that's a possibility too, but it was a kid's book, and you know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they want us to be wanted us to be very positive and give a kind of a edifying message along with the cool story. So.
Was it hard for you to be positive?
No, not really. I fake being positive all the time. So.
I didn't know you published under Source Point Press.
Just the 2 books so far, but hopefully we'll be doing more. Viking Queen is a old school sword and sorcery story, magic, monsters, God, I had something else in there. Anyway, and it's got a little Lovecraftian horror thrown in because it's not really old school sword and sorcery without a few creepy shadow beasts and that kind of thing. But it's set in sort of a fictionalized version of 9th century Norway. And features a woman who is rumored to be the daughter of a frost giant.
Is she cold as ice?
But not willing to sacrifice your love. For you.
You got my Foreigner reference.
Yeah, I was going to say, do we need to explain who Foreigner is for the vast majority of your audience?
I don't know. I don't know what the demographics are.
Yeah. And then it was followed up by, so I co-created with Kevin Karen, the Viking Queen, and then for the second installment, they're not really issue 1, 2, they're all standalone stories, kind of like the original Conan stories weren't like meant to be read in order per se.
So you could pick one up and
read it and go, yeah.
Where, you know, and I noticed this one did say one shot on it.
Yeah, does that one not? I thought it had it on that too. Maybe not. But that one's kind of the story of Elgven, the Viking Queen, getting to North America about 100 years before Leif Erikson. And the fun things that she encounters there. It was actually, it's interesting to me. I came up with the idea for this based on some tweets by a friend of mine, Leela Gwen, who was going through, also a very talented writer. She did the series Bad Luck Chuck with Matthew Dow Smith at Dark Horse. And she was going through some health troubles, and we were kind of going back and forth, I was trying to be encouraging and stuff, and she was like, yeah, I'm kind of like Viking Queen, like battling against, this problem, and I was like, oh, now I want to write something about that. And she's like, how are you going to explain how a Viking queen has blue hair? Because she very often has either rainbow hair or blue hair. And I said, daughter of a frost giant? And she's like, yep, that'd do it. and I asked her, because I before I actually wrote anything, I said, are you actually cool with me doing this? It is inspired
I
in
think
part
most
by your
people
life.
would be honored.
Well, yeah, but of course she's also a writer, so I didn't, but I don't think she's going to, I was making sure that this particular iteration was all right with her, rather than, jumping on it and going like, I stole this woman's life for my own
Profit and gain.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, you were being very respectful.
Yeah, and she was cool with it, and I still someday hope to get her to cosplay as the Viking Queen behind my table sometime, so they can get.
Is she doing well?
She's doing all right.
Okay,
Yes,
that's
she's
always
doing all
good.
right. Yep.
Always good to hear a happy ending.
Yeah, she's still around. That's definitely a plus. So yeah, it's still around, still making comics herself. So keep an eye out. Leela Gwen. I had the worst time trying to come up with a name for the character, because I wanted to sort of hint at her, but not.
To steal her name outright?
Yeah, well, there are probably not a lot of Vikings named Leela.
Right.
And then I looked at her screen name, which is L. Gwen, and I thought, I'll just turn the W into a V, and suddenly I have a vaguely Nordic-sounding name. So that's the secret origin of the Viking Queen's name, Elgven.
Well, it's, I laugh at some of the names that are the Marvel characters where you have the same, the monogram is double.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And
alliterative names.
And
yeah.
it's so when you're thinking of a name, sometimes it's hard not to do that.
Fall into that. Yes, it's like, well, let's see, Reed Richards, Peter Parker, and then you're like, Dave Donovan? No. Yeah, you're allowed to use different, it is funny though. I find myself doing that on occasion too, where I'm like, don't need double initials. Don't.
And if your character's going to have, if you're going to do the 3 name, you have to make sure that the initials don't spell a word. I worked with this man whose name was Doug Emery. And his middle name, he didn't want to tell anybody. Well, then we got into a problem at work where there were people with the same initials, so we had to use our middle initial. His middle name was Ivan. So
I could see
he's
how
writing die
on
everything.
Yeah.
And he, wasn't too happy, and he wasn't doing it on purpose.
Well, except he was scratching it into the, You said I had to use my middle initial. There you go. Yeah, I'm actually fortunate in that my initials don't spell anything and they roll off the tongue all right. So, I've been using PDS as a signature. I started using it as a signature on my artwork, and then I based my signing, my autograph signature around my initials. So that was, I'm lucky in that,
My brother, he was having a problem at work, and my dad's like, well, why don't you just put your initials on your work? He's like, Dad, I work for a car company, and my initials are GM. Nobody's going to believe me. It's my work.
Right.
So some of us are lucky, some of us are not. With my daughter, Audrey Miles, her middle initial is Brianne. She's a BM. I did not think that one through.
That did not come out okay.
No, it didn't. Constipation.
Oh.
Thanks.
I didn't say it, you did.
Oh, well. So you were recently at Gem City?
I was. Gem City Comic-Con down in beautiful Dayton, Ohio. Yes, it is possible for some place in Ohio to be beautiful. Spoken as a lifelong Michigander. But yeah, I really enjoy going down to that show. It's a great show. It's very comic centric. Good crowds, and yeah, I had a terrific time. Kudos to Jesse and Bill for putting on a good show. And the great thing is there's a sort of cadre of Great Lakes area creators that you get to catch up with it at a show here in the Detroit area or Grand Rapids or Columbus or Dayton, even down Cincinnati or Cleveland, all the way over to the Chicago shows. Where if you were in one of those shows,
area.
Yeah, if you're in one of those at one of those shows, you're going to see a bunch of old friends.
Well, somebody did complain that they didn't see a lot of Michigan people. And I'm like thinking that you were there. There's always a couple of creators from Michigan.
Yeah. Maybe I should have worn a big Winter Water Wonderland T-shirt or something.
Well, maybe you just didn't make enough rounds. Now, I didn't go this year.
Or maybe I wasn't drunk enough, because everybody associates drunken revelry with Michigan, right?
Wow, we do have a lot of colleges and got to keep up that college spirit.
Grand Rapids is now like a brew pub, like the biggest. They used to be known, microbrewery. They used to be known for having more churches per capita than any other city in Michigan.
So now they've got all of the bars to go with the sinners?
Yeah, well, that's it. Once you get out of church, you can sneak off to a brew pub.
I was just recently at Tecumseh Brewery. Yeah, I was sampling a dark night, and it was like a 9.2.
Ooh.
And I hadn't eaten yet.
Yeah, it's funny. Growing up in Detroit, as soon as you turn 19, you pop over to Windsor.
Woohoo!
And we used to be so excited because there was a beer over there with a 6.3 alcohol.
Molson Brodeur, that's what I used to drink.
It was Brodeur. Yes. I hate Brodeur. I did not like the taste of that at all.
And the cherry whiskey.
There you go. But it's funny because now in Michigan we've got tons of stuff with a much higher alcohol content, and I'm one of these people who is not a big microbrew person.
Okay.
Mostly because a lot of microbrewers want to do their take on the IPA, and if I wanted to chew pine needles, I would.
I like Founders. I like a dirty bastard.
Understandable. It's got the Scotsman on it. But yeah,
The breakfast stout is a little too much for me. That's comparable to Guinness.
Yeah. Now see, then I gotta try their breakfast stout. Although our Founders back on the OK side, they were in a lot of hot water for their employee relations a year or so back.
I didn't know.
Oh, look it up on the interwebs.
Oh my.
It's exciting. But the funny thing is I don't drink much anymore, not for any reason other than I just kind of fell out of the habit. So
I've always been more of a quality girl over quantity girl, so.
Yeah, I if I'm on a night out, if I can just sip a couple of Guinnesses, then I'm fine. I don't need to see just how much I can consume.
You don't get a shot and a pint and make it a Boilermaker?
Oh no, good God, I've never heard of a Guinness Boilermaker, and it sounds offensive to me. Although I'm sure there are people who drop Jamesons in their Guinness or some other Irish whiskey. Showing my ignorance because I don't know that many.
I hear it goes well in coffee. I'm not a coffee drinker.
It is true. They've got the whole Irish coffee thing going on, but yeah, I'm not much into liquors either.
So, like, if I were to ask you who had the best Irish cream,
couldn't tell you.
Okay.
Couldn't tell you, sadly. But yeah, an Irish coffee every now and then. Never hurt anybody. Well, doesn't hurt most people, I should say. And then, yeah, how do we get onto Grand Rapids?
Grand Rapids beer.
And conventions. We were talking conventions.
Yes.
And you still, to this day, and I've been trying for about 20 years now, to convince hotels that are hosting conventions, they need to staff up their bar. And they're like, what, comic book people? What are you going to drink? It's like everything. They just,
you can always tell, like, Friday night and Saturday morning or Sunday morning, some friends are a little bit late getting to their table Sundays. Some friends are just like...
under their table.
Yeah. Oopsie.
Yeah, that's... I have actually been there where I had friends who didn't show up until like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
They're looking rough.
Yeah, it's on a Sunday that you're closing at 5 or 6.
Yeah,
and they're
your
just
short
like,
day.
yeah. But I have not done that for a long time. And even when I was drinking more, I did not. I always showed up early. I always show up as soon as if the show's opening at 10, then I'm there at 10. Which is not to say I don't sneak off at some point during the day and relax a little.
Like at Grand Rapids Spring Fling, you were a VIP guest, and some days the VIP people need to be there like a half hour early for those people who have the VIP passes.
Exactly, and then which is a little rough if you're out a little late on Saturday to actually show up on Sunday, on time, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, or bushy-eyed and bright-tailed. I don't know. Either way, it's kind of rough sometimes.
Well, some people have brighter tails than others, I guess.
Indeed. So.
I don't know. I was talking with someone. I think Dave Brown, my last guest. And I can't remember what we were talking about or how it came up, but I knew that I wanted to talk to you about what happened last year at Gem City. You went to the bathroom.
Oh. Now I know what you're... I'm like, no, Gem City was fine last... Oh. Yeah, there was definitely an unfortunate tragedy there. I was trying to run off for a quick bathroom break, and the bathroom was closed down, which was odd. And it continued to be closed down for quite a while.
Like 3 hours.
Yeah, and...
the men's room?
The men's room, and EMS came, and then they put up, like, tarps. To form like kind of a corridor to one of the doors, and it later turned out that sadly one of the retailers had passed away, and everybody was just kind of in shock because I knew several people who knew him were just like, I can't believe it.
What was you and I were talking, and I'm like, do you want me to be the lookout in the women's? Because women will do that at sporting events and different things like that. The guy, their guy friend or whatever will look out, and they'll go and they'll use the men's because there's hardly ever a line. So I offered to, and you're like, no, I can wait. Well, but then you started to calculate.
Yeah.
And you're like, I went to the bathroom. And you got to thinking that he may have already been in there.
It is possible. It was theoretically possible that he had already passed. That's right. I had used the bathroom, and then I saw them setting everything up. So, yeah, I did not notice at the time. I would have said something. I wasn't in that big. I was not in that big a hurry to get back to my table that I wouldn't have, stopped off and said, "Hey, problem." That's right. It is possible. It is possible.
See, you have this story you totally forgot about.
I completely forgot about it. Completely forgot about it. Yeah, I guess it's one of those repressed memories kind of story, though. You don't want to think that you went in and used the facilities while somebody who had passed away was just in there and you didn't notice anything. So, thank you for dredging that up. I'll have something to talk to my therapist about on Thursday.
Or you could take a part of that and come up with a wonderful story idea.
I suppose. Nothing springs to mind. But
as long as the spring rolls pass okay,
yeah,
you're good.
That's. But yeah, wow. Because somebody this year did make a half-joking comment about, well, at least we all made it out this time. But one thing I want to be sure we do say, Gem City's a terrific show. They take really good care of people.
They have a great
stuff happens.
venue, too. It's very nice. I remember when I first went in 2015, it was in a gymnasium at Wright University, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
So they've, they're like the Jeffersons. They're moving on up.
Yeah.
So last year it was beautiful.
Yeah. It's a really nice spot right in the Dayton Convention
Traffic
Center.
Flowed real nice.
And they've set it up with a really good flow. So I highly recommend it, is what I'm saying. Gem City wants you.
Oh, you didn't have the shield and the headpiece.
Oh, or the goatee and the Star-Spangled Hat, which was because it's originally...
But we just got done talking before the show that you are a Captain America fan.
I am a huge Captain America fan. And I've even got the red, white, and blue shields hanging on a wall at home. I'm not going to try and stop bullets with it because it's, one of those... plastic, it's not plastic, it's actually like
resin?
High impact something or other. Yeah, but
it's not
still pretty sure it's not going to stop bullets.
Not vibranium or
no, or a vibranium alloy as
whatever Howard Stark used.
Yes. Well, it depends. Are we talking the comics? Are we talking, if we're talking the 1941 serial or 42 serial, Captain America didn't even have a shield. He was a crusading district attorney in that one. Very weird. I don't know why they called it Captain America, other than they were hoping to sucker some kids into watching it, even though it had nothing to do with Captain America.
Well, so this begs the question for me, Paul. What's in your long box?
I've got a huge number of Captain America books from, I don't know, the earliest, I mean, I don't have any of the Golden Age stuff.
Okay.
I do have stuff probably from before I was born when they brought Captain America back. I've got a few back issues there. I'm not much of a collector per se in that I generally get reading copies of stuff. You don't have anything from when you were a kid? I still have some stuff from when I was a kid, but I was rough on my comics when I was a kid.
Your sisters didn't steal them from you?
Oh, no. Oh, you're presuming my sisters could read. No, actually, my oldest sister and brother were already in high school before I came along. So my parents decided to have basically two sets of kids. And no, my other sister was much more interested in Nancy Drew and Little House on the Prairie books than she was comics.
Trixie Belden. Was she into Trixie Belden?
I think she did get a couple Trixie Belden books, now that you mention it. So
that's what I couldn't.
Trixie Belden Junior Nurse or something like that.
She was a sleuth as well, with her friend Honey.
Oh no, it was Donna Parker, I think was the Candy Striper. Yes, sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. So you were like spoiled. Would you say?
I wouldn't say that at all. No, my oldest sister would say that, but no. I mean, I got comics if I was good at the doctor or something, but like I wasn't. I got what comics, before I could go get them myself. I just got what comics there were. If we went on vacation and they wanted to keep me quiet for a while, I'd end up with some Harvey comics like Little Lotta or Little Dot or Richie Rich. Or Archie comics or stuff that I wouldn't normally have picked because I was a
you could get right at the grocery store or the drugstore.
Well, of course, those digests. The reason that you see those digests, you saw them for so long, was somebody at Archie had the idea for point of purchase magazine display. And basically, I don't know, licensed it, sold it, something. Made an agreement with the grocery stores that they could use that as long as they always stocked Archie, which I was like, wow.
You always saw Archie and Reader's Digest and TV Guide. I mean, that's what...
Back when TV Guide was a thing. Yes. I think they still have them, but yeah, it's so weird now to think that...
Well, before they were for me, they were like this size.
Yeah.
But now there's a...
Well, they have to include all the cable stuff, yeah. But, yeah, that was... And, of course, you used to get a...
Here, let me just drag out the rotary phone.
Yeah. Thank you for making me seem so young and vital and with it, which I don't think the kids say anymore.
With it?
I'm not even sure that the full-grown adults say with it anymore.
My teen doesn't.
So. Yeah. But it's things have changed a lot. In magazines and newspapers, because you used to get a version of the TV Guide would come with if you had a Sunday subscription with your newspaper.
Well, that's how I learned to read, was reading Spider-Man in the comic section.
I'm sadly old enough to remember when there was a Batman and a Dark Shadow comic strip in the weekly
a Dark
comics.
Shadow one. Oh,
yes, yeah. Which was kind of odd because at that time it was still sort of like family friendly stuff on the comic strip page, and Dark Shadows is about vampires and werewolves and gothic horror, which seems like a weird choice now for like, oh, here in the paper that the kids are going to be reading.
Yeah, but that's when shows like that were starting to come out, though.
Well, and Dark Shadows, when they started adding the horror elements, as I understand it, blew up huge compared to...
Well, it was, at first it was daytime TV, like a regular soap opera.
Yeah, just regular soap.
But it was, yeah.
Yeah. Then they decided to have, hey, why don't we have a previously unknown family member show up? And he's a vampire. So... which, fits in the tradition of daytime TV being, kind of...
Oh, I have a long-lost twin.
Yeah. Or...
How many concussions have you had?
Yeah. 3 or 4.
So what got you to be a writer then? Were you inspired by the comics, or?
I was reading well before I was in school. Comics always kept me usually 3 to 4 grades ahead in reading level, which was a really weird thing while that I was still growing up in the age where they said, comics will rot your brain. And I'm like, they're rotting my brain to good grades. Don't read those things. Why not? Because they help you with vocabulary, because if you don't understand a word, you puzzle it out by the context, you've got pictures, and it's which now, thank goodness, now teachers and other educators are totally on board with using comics in the classroom.
My daughter had needed To Kill a Mockingbird, and I ordered off of Amazon, and I didn't read the fine print, and it was a graphic novel. And she's like, Mom, I'm sorry, just try to make do for a week until the new book comes.
Well, and she, if it's a good adaptation, then she probably got the gist of it before she
was a snob about it.
Oh, okay. It is an American literary. Yeah, it is an American literary classic.
But there are kids who do struggle, and when my girls were, when they could learn, they knew how to read before they went to school, but so did I. My brothers struggled. They came out with this ITU or ITA system where they made up letters. So my brother had a hard time with numbers and letters for a while because of this made up thing. Whereas when my daughters started to go to school, they would say, well, look at the picture, look at the picture, look at the word, sound it out, look at the picture, and so I was surprised that they were leaning so heavily on the illustration because before,
Yeah, well, I don't know where, I think it might have been Neil Gaiman who pointed out the ridiculousness of how we consider visual arts, painting or illustration or whatever, to be, that's art. And we can consider literature as art. And then you put them together and they go, well, that's trash. It's like,
what is this bastard child you're throwing at me?
But they're one of the things I did helped out with a series of books called Graphic Myths and Legends, adapting mythology from around the world into graphic novels, and one of the things that the teachers the feedback that the company got, because they focused on the school and library markets, feedback they consistently got was not only that it was good for reluctant readers, people having a hard time, but it helped the advanced readers continue to get to higher levels, because for all the reasons that I mentioned, that it's easier to puzzle things out when you've got the context right there. They're a tremendous tool.
And like magazines, and like when I was in high school and we had journalism, we learned that most of the stuff that we were reading was like at a 6th grade level or 8th grade level, but they wanted the newspapers to kind of be at a 5th grade level for everybody to comprehend.
Right.
Of course, back then it was who, what, where, why, and how.
Which it should still be.
Well, inquiring minds want to know, just paint a whole new way.
You less have leads than clickbait headlines.
Right.
Yeah. Right. But it's... good journalism is good journalism. It informs, which is why most places with clickbait headlines are not good journalism.
But the comics were kind of.
I'm not going to get myself in trouble on that one.
Oh no, I understand.
Little generalization.
But what I'm saying is that the comics were at a higher reading level than your day-to-day newspaper for the everyday Joe, for the moms and the dads and the workers and everything like that. And then you have the kids reading the comics who, faster pace learning and higher reading level.
Yeah. And of course, early on, one of the big audiences for comics, they would send them in care packages overseas for soldiers in World War II.
Well, there was a lot of propaganda.
There was certainly some of that. There was also a wide variety of there were gangster comics and horror comics and all sorts of things. They were beyond.
Is that where Beetle Bailey came from?
I did see recently that Beetle Bailey did not start out in the Army.
Oh.
Apparently he was like a college kid or something, and then at some point he went into the Army, and then it became about being in the Army.
With Sarge.
With Sarge, and the general, and all the other people. So, but...
he never advanced. He never got away from Sarge.
Yeah, he was always a private. I don't know if he ever, I don't think he ever became a corporal. So, poor guy. Hard to retire a private.
Well, yeah, you have to be second lieutenant just to get some benefits after retirement.
Yeah. Well, I think you'd still get a pension, though, for... I thought if you stayed in for 20 years, you got something. And you got the VA.
Well, but...
I'm not an expert on this, so you can correct me.
Everyone thinks that VA is free, but I know someone who had to pay for their VA
well, it's like
services.
Yeah, but it's also the whole thing of the wonderful American health care system where you got your co-pays and your oh God, what is it? You have to pay your deductibles and,
in network now. It used to be your deductible. Now it's your in-network expense,
right,
on top of your deductible. So before my fucking insurance will pay for anything,
I've never heard that word before.
I have to pay $4,000.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And now hospitals are like, you go in for a test or a procedure, they're like, so, according to your insurance, it's going to cost you blah, blah, blah. Is that cash or card and check? And it's like, you want me to pay up front for this surgery?
That might not help.
Based on, an estimate of benefits, it's...
Yeah. By the way, we got to healthcare from what's in my lunchbox. Which, by the way, because it just occurred to me, I only said Captain America, and of course I've got a bunch of Daredevils from the 60s on up, and a ton of New Teen Titans, the Wolfman Perez run. I've got it's funny because I've got a bunch of Avengers, some of which I have in Avengers, some of which I have in what was it? Marvel Triple Action was the comic that reprinted a lot of the 1960s Avenger stuff, and so if I couldn't find a copy of the actual book that I could afford, then I went and grabbed a copy of Marvel Triple Action to fill that hole until I could. I'm trying to think. I've got I think every book featuring the Desperados that Jeff Marriott did first at Homage Comics and then various other places, which was a weird Western comic that I really enjoy.
Yeah, I remember there was a little bit of a movement with the Westerns. Yeah,
there really was. I've still got a Western sitting on the back burner that I want to tackle at some point, but we'll see.
Now, you're a writer, and you go to these cons, and you see a lot of indie guys, and also some guys who...
And gals.
Yes. Well, I guess when I say guys, it's like saying dude.
It's such a Michigan thing, though. When I had a friend move from Michigan to Tennessee, and she would say, "Oh, I'll say to my friends, you guys, let's go do this," and they were all girls. They go like, "We're not guys," and so she eventually had to succumb to using y'all.
Does she have to change from pop to soda?
Probably.
Poor girl.
Yeah.
Well, so in the comic book world, the comic book industry, even though it's international and we do know international people,
sure.
It's a small community as well. It's very it's like a family.
Yeah, which is one reason why people should know better than to badmouth somebody to somebody they don't know, because. Yeah, I've watched that happen where like somebody will start going, oh, and this person, that jerk, and blah, 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 blah. It's like, yeah, good friend of mine.
Open mouth, insert foot.
Yeah.